Welcome everybody. As we get started here today, I want to just offer a couple of things to help you prepare for our learning together. So as you kind of settle into your space, you will want to make sure that you have the reflection tool available. That is the tool that you will be turning into DuPage Regional Office of Education and the SEL Hub for the credit for being able to take this time together. So make sure you have that available. I've integrated times during our session for you to be able to reflect while we are learning as well. So that will be helpful. Creating your space so that you can focus. So if you need to grab something, like whether you need some water or anything to make yourself comfortable for our time here together. Also setting a moment here for that intention. We will take a moment in a couple minutes here to specifically set an intention, but maybe there's something right now that you want to make sure that you're bringing into this space and time together. Having your note-taking option, and as I mentioned, the reflection tool. And if you would like, I'd also like to offer for our recorded session here, if you are on social media and have a Twitter account, throughout our reflections, if you want to engage there and also bring that as almost like a call to action for people, you can always create a Twitter post and tag me. It's at LindsayFrank88. I have that on a couple of slides as we continue our learning, but maybe you feel called to do that or inspired by our session here today to share with others. And also, when I do this live, I will be inviting people to kind of think about who they are, what your why is, and what is one way that you authentically connect with your students, or if you are a leader here today or coach, how do you also connect with your staff members? So I would invite you as well through this recording and our time here to really think about that. So if you would like to even pause this video and take a moment and really think about what are those ways that you connect with your students and your staff to make them feel welcomed. I also want to mention here, you'll notice that there's this heart. That heart will come up several times throughout our presentation as well. And what that means is that there is a heart-centered practice. So as we're learning here together, I really I embody and be the practices. So yes, we will explicitly learn some different tools for our classrooms, but also just notice and observe the way of being, and maybe there's something even there that you can bring into your classroom to create that heart-centered space that we'd like for our students and our staff and our communities together. So again, if you wish to pause the video and reflect, please do. So we are here together today, and we are going to be exploring how to truly create a heart-centered classroom. And we have our sponsorship here today is through the SEL Hub grant, and DuPage Regional Office of Education are our hosts for this session, for this learning, and just really grateful for the opportunity to share social and emotional learning with everybody, and really making that movement in the work that we do in education. And so with SEL Hub in Area 1, they wanted to share here just that symbolism behind the different gears that are together here. And knowing that all of these practices connect, and we need all of them in order to truly make that movement in education. So thinking about that for our time together in learning, knowing that we are preparing ourselves to come back to school, and we have this special time together to really change how we want to be in our classrooms and to honor the fact that our hearts are really truly powerful, and we as educators and leaders and supporters and parents create this space for our learners to thrive. So again, just noting and honoring the fact that all of these practices intertwine together to really create the powerful learning for our students. As I mentioned, we have the reflection tool, and this is for that requirement. So I just want to make sure you have it ready before we truly start. And there is just one page, and there are 7 questions there for you to reflect on. And again, it'll be throughout our time together, but also I'd encourage you afterward to fully reflect and even go back to questions and how that was in the beginning. So as we kind of settle into this space, I'd like to offer these agreements for us here. And you will notice that there is also that heart here. And thinking about how you share that with your students. So for us today, listening and sharing with an open heart. So what that's meaning is maybe there are some things that you have heard before or maybe not. And how does that connect with you? Being fully present, and what that's meaning for us here during our recording is to truly offer this time to reflect on your practices. And also, if you choose to engage on social media, that's also a part of that being present. Take risks and ask questions. So the questions for our time might just be something that you're writing down on the reflection. Maybe those questions are like as they come up, if you want to reach out or email me, you absolutely can. And I'd love to connect and help all of us grow together, and myself to grow too. And most importantly, to see the possibilities. You'll also notice in our presentation, not only are we focused on the heart, but I also embed the butterfly quite a bit in regards to how we are always changing and how we need to have true transformation to happen in education. So recognizing that there truly is a butterfly within education, and that's happening all the time, but we can see the possibilities there. So a little bit about me. My name is Lindsay Frank. I have been an educator for over 12 years, and I wanted to offer this word cloud as a way of showing you my heart and a little bit about who I am. And I want to highlight a couple of them. So I am an educator. I am actually going back to the classroom this year. The past 5 years, I've been a climate and social emotional learning coach for a district in Illinois. And now I'm going to go back and connect back with students in a special education role and outside of the school day. So that'll be part-time. The other part, I like to connect with other leaders and teachers through my company, The Butterfly Within. And with that, the wellness coaching for educators and advocating for wellness in education. I'm a children's book author. I'll be sharing some of that through our presentation as well, because the practices within the books you can integrate into your classroom regardless whether or not you have my books, but they are an avenue that I enjoy to share in this work that we do. So I would actually encourage you, if you've never made a word cloud of you, to do that. It was an incredible reflective experience. I've always done it like with my students, but for myself and seeing all of the capacities that for me I share and I bring, it was a really great reflective moment for me, and I would offer you to do the same, whether you'd like to do it now or some other time when you feel just in that space of reflection of you. And also, if there are administrators, this would be a wonderful opportunity to share within even the beginning of the year with your staff or anytime really, and really understanding who's with us, who and how do people identify with themselves, and maybe you'll learn something to continue to build relationships, because all of what we do in a heart-centered classroom is all founded, and the foundation is and are relationships. So it is linked, and note that everything that's really in my presentation, you have access to the slides. The pictures are typically all links to the resources. So this, I believe, is wordart.com. You can just click on the heart and it'll take you there. But even offering this for our students, right? Maybe for those of you who engage in circle practices, which I hope all of you do, and if not, consider it. But maybe this becomes your centerpiece with your students, and all of them are a part of the community. Maybe it's something that you have on their desk or table spaces or within the classroom. And so when difficult decisions are happening in a classroom or unexpected behaviors happening in a classroom, you can really focus back on who are you as a person and who do you want to be. And the decision that you're making right now, is that matching who you'd like to be and who you are? And even by that, sometimes that's just a quick way of a redirection and helping them to think through, like, okay, this decision, is this my best self right now? And it's also good for us too. We make our own, we put it by our own computer space where we're at, and that allows us that opportunity to always be reflecting on our own hearts as well. So that was a little bit about me and already a strategy for you. But let's really take a moment to pause and truly connect with our intention for this time. And I would like to offer an invitation to practice. It'll be a short mindfulness practice, and it's always an invitation. So if you would prefer not to join me for this moment here, that is absolutely okay. Just like with our students, that's absolutely okay, and it's always an option. So maybe you might look ahead at the slides, or maybe you just make sure that your environment is where you feel most comfortable and present with, and just kind of do what makes sense for you. But if you wish to join me, I'd invite you to maybe sit back or sit tall. Perhaps you even like to stand, whatever feels safe and comfortable for you in this moment, knowing that any moment is different. So see what you feel called to do. And then perhaps begin to notice the bottoms of your feet or wherever you're seated or standing. And knowing that we're fully arriving here into this learning space. And if it's safe and comfortable for you, maybe you notice your breathing and the pattern of that rhythm. And maybe even on an exhale, you might choose to allow your eyes to soften, meaning maybe they look down, maybe they're focused on the butterfly, maybe they even close. Do what feels safe and comfortable for you in this moment. And into this space, maybe allowing just with each breath, that space between is that space of possibility. And with that possibility, allowing that intention, whether you created one before moving into the learning or allowing a new intention to become present for this moment right now. And if nothing comes up, that's okay, and just maybe that intention is for the possibility. And then with each breath, just allowing that to come fully into your heart, into this work that we do, this heart work that we do. And taking 3 more breaths here, there's absolutely no rush. And checking back in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, just if there have been any changes. And after that 3rd breath, allowing yourself to come back, maybe you open your eyes if they were closed, or you look around the room or space, or if you're outside learning, you're just looking around, knowing that everything is safe and okay. And maybe I would invite you to also write down the intention to help you to stay focused for our time. And if you prefer not to, that's okay too. Just allow that to be on your heart as a reminder. And again, thinking about and knowing about the possibilities that are here, and that the butterfly resembles a change and transformation for ourselves, for our students, for education, and truly our world, right? Because when we can focus on us and we can focus on our learners, that in itself is having an incredible impact on the world that is really needing us to rise to the occasion to have that impact. So here, again, there's that heart. So these are already some heart-centered practices that we've already experienced. We highlighted the importance of authentic connection and relationships. We shared agreements and thinking about how do you create that with your students. And I want to mention as well, sometimes we use the words like norms or expectations or rules, but I really have settled my heart on that word agreements, because that is a shared commitment. And even commitment is a good word that you might even use in your classroom, but I really enjoy that agreement. So think about what words like speak to you for in your classroom space, and truly, do your students agree and commit to that environment that you're creating? So think about how you can embed that into your classroom if it's not already. We explored setting intentions. So I like to think of your why that's what your intention is. What is your why for what you're doing? And we should have an intention for everything that we do. Whatever it is that we're teaching, even every transition, there's an intention behind the transition. And I'm also offering the 3S. So what is that intention for you? So the self. What is the intention for your students? And what is the intention for your staff? And staff meaning if you're a leader, but also you are a team member on whether a department team, a grade level team, a specialist team, an IEP team. There are teams everywhere, and for staff, like being able to set an intention for what that moment would be together, both our own and a collective intention, that can really shift the experience of that moment. And knowing that the intention can be set whether daily, so in the beginning and how you start your day, both for you before you even come to school, but also allowing your students to set an intention daily. That can help them to stay motivated and focused. But also there's the moment to moment. And that might be if you're switching class periods, if you're switching the content, if you just have a transition, allowing the moment to moment pause to set the intention. And allowing your students to take on their own leadership of what is their intention, because it might be different, right, for us and them. But even giving them that opportunity to explore and realize like you have a voice and it matters, and your choice right now will impact how you receive the learning or experience. And again, if any questions come up, please feel free to write them in your reflection tool, email me, or on social media as well. My email is at the end, but I'll put it here as well. It is thebutterflywithinllc@gmail.com. So at any point, you can always email me as questions come up. So with intentions, because maybe you've not led an intention before, I wanted to give you some more tools for your toolbox. So SEL are explicitly taught skills that we use within and beyond the classroom. So how you see the steps here, those are those teaching steps that we can do for our students and or whomever we're leading and supporting. So the first step is to notice what your next task is. So in that moment, what's next? And decide your why for that task, even if it is a must-do. We have a lot of must-dos in our classes, and students just feel like, I must do that. And so if we go at it with the intention of I must do something, that's a different type of approach within our learning compared to what is that choice and intention, Maybe we might even choose to start renaming that instead of the may do's and must do's. Maybe it's the intention, the intentionals. I don't know. Come up with something there, but thinking about like intention setting and then having them move into their work or yours too. Then you create an intention or an affirmation statement for the task. So an affirmation, it's going to be the I am statement, and the intention could be the I choose to statement, or anything that's more of that inner talk that we do in our minds. And so then you're going to write it and or say it. So maybe this might even be a quick turn and talk with your students, like, okay, set your intention for math. Turn and talk and share with your neighbor and say, my intention is, and then they even then can embed the social and emotional learning skill of listening, and there'll be some more tools to come during our time with that, but allowing them to speak it out loud. And now they have an accountability partner with them. And so it just allows that way of motivation there. And then step 4, begin the task. So some examples of the intentions that might be, right? So even for yourself, that very first one, we can come to school and we can teach every day as we do. But if we actually set an intention before we even step foot inside our classroom, with even that very first one I have on there that says, I am sharing powerful learning with my students. Again, very different approach if I start my day with that as my intention compared to I'm at school today, right? So just think about like what the power our words have, and we know as educators how powerful words are. We know through books, we know through our speaking. Words are powerful and they create what is going to happen. So maybe, like the second from the bottom here. Let's say you have a student who is really escalated and you have to respond. Your intention for responding completely can shift how that interaction is going to be, and whether we escalate or de-escalate or maintain where we're at. And so that intention, I choose to de-escalate my student, versus I have to help my student, or whatever is in your mind, we have a choice there in how we are approaching. So, and the very last one, I'm speaking this out loud to all of us because sometimes we all need to hear it. But that last one says, I'm doing the best I can in this moment and know I am still making a difference. So let that resonate on your heart. And you use intentions when you need to have a clear purpose and focus, which is really all the time. But when we're first starting out, maybe there's a particular time of day for you or your students that you know you really need to have a clear focus and clear purpose. And this builds resilience because you create your why and your impact for each part of your day. And another tool, especially for those who are here with us that are, or who are coaches, administrators, or any other teacher leaders, and truly all of us are teacher leaders within our teams that we have as well. So this is a script that I have used and I share with different partnerships when I coach for my wellness coaching as well. So this is a tool, it's a script that you can use to set an intention within the adult space that we support. But it's also very similar for our students, but the wording and how we share it is different. So when you click on this tool, you have access to it. And I would encourage you to print it out and maybe even just have it in a binder. Maybe you have the tools that you'll learn today and just write on hand. That way it's easily integrated in all that you do. And so I'm going to read even just that very first bolded line here, because again, if nobody has ever offered the opportunity to set an intention, sometimes that might feel a little different when you are the one to take that initiative and that courageous step and offer it. And so even that verbiage of, before we start our time together, can I offer a moment for us to transition into this part of our day and an opportunity to set an intention? And even just asking, you've opened the door to allow somebody the moment to stop and pause and think, am I truly here and ready to learn or be or share? And it completely can change that experience, So I'd encourage you to give it a go. It's bold action, and sometimes we have to do it a couple times and make it a routine. Maybe you even put it into your agenda for the day, like just set an intention. That way it's there, and you're holding yourself accountable for it as well for you. So our first journal, and thinking about what does it mean to be heart-centered. You chose to be for this learning. I gave you some samples so far. But what does it mean to you? And what is the benefit to creating a heart-centered classroom or school for our leaders, for our learners? And number 3, how do you currently cultivate a heart-centered classroom or school? And welcome back. So now keeping that in mind, just allowing the journal opportunity to kind of be still present, I want to offer a couple tools. So during the live session, we will be practicing these tools. And because of the recording, we can't really practice it together. So I still want to give you the tools. And then I'm going to give you a challenge. All right, so moving forward here, listen. That is the most powerful, heart-centered practice strategy. Relationships are one thing, but even building relationships, we can do that through listening. And listening is very hard. So simple, but so hard. It's a bit of a challenge. But here are some things to consider when you are listening, because listening is almost like a craft. Like it's you practice it and see where it goes. And let's just explore for a bit here. So one really simple, quick strategy to allow yourself to fully become present is actually your posture. And even for me saying this word, naturally we're like, oh yes, posture. We start moving, right? And from our posture, here are a couple of layers there. Why? Why posture? Because it creates like this grounding space, and grounding meaning our feet are present, we are fully present here. Just like the rock on the ground, we're grounding here in the present moment. Yes, I am a yoga teacher, a mindfulness teacher and everything. So that's where some of the verbiage comes in, but it's good for you to have too. I don't always use that word with students because, if we say grounding with our students, they're thinking they're going home to their rooms. So, but truly knowing that there are different definitions for what that means. So if that was a new word in a new context, I just want to give you that background there. So we're becoming present through like the rock and becoming fully connected and grounded, right? So when you do that, you become naturally alert and your focus changes. And our body and heart become open. So I would encourage you to, when you notice yourself getting distracted, when you have a student that's sharing something, or a staff member or a parent, or at home, wherever, if you find your thoughts going all over, pause and be like, okay, how is my posture? Whether I'm sitting or standing, it's the same. So how do you do this? Well, your feet, like just noticing your feet, even right now, like take a look at your feet, right? Are they kind of making that number 11? Or like, are we sitting in a different way? And this is for when you need to truly focus like all the time. So you still should be comfortable right here, but just for a moment, you can intentionally change your posture and intentionally change your focus. So your feet are like a number 11. Your spine is straight. And when our spine is straight, it naturally will open up our shoulders, which opens up our heart. Okay. So with our spine straight, our shoulders are back, our neck, same thing with our neck slightly back. And when we're doing that, like there's a difference with even that posture to being alert. Our chin is slightly down, so we're not like looking up, it's just slightly back. And then just allowing that moment, at the end here, that your head is fully aligned. And seeing the picture on the side here, I want to also mention, notice her face, okay? And I call that compassionate neutrality. There's a difference when someone is sharing with you. There's a difference of listening with a neutral face. And if I were to continue my neutral face, there's a very big difference on how someone will interact with me. Versus the compassionate neutrality. So with your posture, your body's open now, and you're facing that person, even online, even during this, like you're facing the screen. Face is relaxed, but there's a gentle smile, right? So if I listen like this, there's a much more open heart presence for someone to be invited to share what's truly in their heart with us. We are the ultimate space keepers in what we do. And so if we have that, it allows someone to actually trust us and take a risk and be themselves. Our body can mirror the emotions that person is doing, and that naturally, they've had some different studies on that, on how even by mirroring the different actions or emotions that someone is doing, how that builds relationships. And so then I would encourage you to notice what type of response that, even by doing this, your posture with the compassionate neutrality, what type of responses are you getting? And are they different than what you were getting? And sometimes some of us, we're not used to smiling. It takes more muscles to smile versus to not. And so it's almost like this constant message, like, okay, am I being compassionate? Am I also being neutral? And neutral meaning not that you don't care, neutral meaning that you're not placing judgment on another person. Even in those hard moments where you may or may not agree with what they're saying. A smile is not saying that I agree, but here's the thing. If I'm nodding and I'm not aware of how my body is responding to that person, I'm communicating. And I don't know the numbers offhand, but I recently did a presentation and I saw some of the numbers, but I believe something along the lines of only 7% of what you actually say is received. But as we move forward with the nonverbals and that way of being, the tone of voice, those attributes have a bigger impact on how someone is connecting with you and receiving what you're saying. So I'd encourage you to look that up. It was very fascinating, the percentages with that. So listening's important. And finally, because again, listening is so important, this is a really powerful teaching and leading move that I wanted to share, and it's listening mindfully. And I've kind of mentioned it, and that's really what we were doing. So we had posture. So once our posture is ready, in those moments when we really need to focus, and our face is ready to receive and welcome somebody into our space, then we can open up and actually listen. And I'm going to highlight down here. So we talked about like being the space keeper. We shared about that smile. We shared about the nonverbal movement and allowing the natural pauses to happen. We're teachers, we like to talk a lot, or we're leaders and we like to talk a lot. The pause is where the true like power lies there. So be okay. Take a breath during that and allow there to be a pause when you're listening. And when the person has finished, just thank them. You don't have to respond in any other way. You can respond with thank you for sharing your thoughts, especially if they're just wanting to be heard. That is a powerful move because they may not want your feedback at that time. They just want to be heard. And the final bullet point here that I wanted to mention, and instead of that, I'm going to say the final element, because we got a lot going on here in our world. I want to reframe that. The final point that I want to make here, it says, would you like any insights? So you thank them, and then you ask, do they want any other insights? Because they may not, right? You've given them the opportunity to be able to hear what you have to say or allowing it to be and knowing that's okay. And over here, even by asking if the student or teacher would be open to a different insight, it also opens the door to see another way, even if it is at another time. So they may say no, but the fact that you even said, would you like any insights? You're showing that you had something to say that would have been a little bit different. And especially in that space of conflict or when you're repairing relationships during like a restorative conversation, that type of phrase just opens the door for more growth. So again, you have access to this. You can click the image here and it will allow you to have access with it. So I kept this here for our breakout rooms, but for you here, that's where the reflection is. And my challenge for you. I didn't write the challenge on here, but my challenge for you is to find somebody to practice listening with. Whether you'd like to pause the video and do that now, but I would encourage you to do that today. Find someone to do it with, and if you don't have someone for some odd reason or other today, you'll do it beyond today, but I want you to take action today. I'd invite you to take action today, I should say. It's your choice. It's your choice, but it's a challenge. I then would encourage you to have a conversation with yourself and record it and see how it goes. And notice even your posture with yourself, the listening with yourself. Perhaps you do it with your phone on the selfie mode or with a mirror so you can see what's happening and also record it and then like receive that feedback. But for those that are doing it live, they will be sharing their journal. And so you can share your journal with somebody. That way you don't have to worry about what your content is that you're sharing, but you're sharing the journal through the mindful listening and speaking. And there I said for Twitter, it's at LindsayFrank88. You can always share how it went or your insights or anything from your journal there as well. So feel free to pause the video if you wish. Welcome back. And this is another strategy. So offering a moment here, I'm going to pause speaking and just breathe with the line for a moment. And you'll breathe in as it comes up, and you'll breathe out as it comes down. And just even something like this, you can add to your slides. You can absolutely even share and use this slide. You can find this, my most, if not all of my graphics are on Canva. As educators, you have access to Canva. And just even type in moving shape or animated shape. GIFs, you can put in breathing shape. And just add them to your slides. It's a very nice way to transition back as students are ready. It's less rushed and there's intention behind it, right? So I want to again share with you on the recording during live, we will be creating a list of what truly a heart-centered classroom is. Based off of the journaling. And I would encourage you to just think back and maybe you ask some people, maybe you ask your team, maybe it's a question you can just ask your staff members, like, what does a heart-centered classroom mean to you? And you can create your own list. But I'm going to offer here, these are the elements that I like to think of within a heart-centered classroom. That they are beyond words, and they are felt by the heart, from the heart. And even in the description for this session, I was sharing the importance of how it truly is that feeling. You just step into the classroom or school and you feel it. There are deep connections, and SEL is infused into every moment that's there. Every content area, every specialty area, you will find like clues that SEL is present and that the skills have been learned and embedded and that they're practiced and truly embodied. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine actually yesterday and understanding how for us, even by modeling, that is teaching. And I'm going to encourage us to even think a little bit deeper here that when we are starting to learn SEL as adults, there are CASEL competencies there, and you can find more information for our adult SEL, by the way, in case you don't know. But as we learn, we model, and thinking about modeling as like, there's the intention, but it's almost like you're just doing it. And then from modeling, you begin to start to embody. So we see this with our students, right? So they're learning, it's explicit, it's almost forced. So the modeling to embodying and like, okay, it's starting to integrate. I'm having success with these skills no matter what during any part of my day, in and out of the classroom, to eventually at the end of that continuum is being. So practicing, it's becoming integrated, and then I can be. Modeling, embodying, and being. Notice where you're at on that continuum throughout the school year even. Create and refine resilience plans. So you'll find that there's some kind of plan. For me, I call them resilience plans. I coach into with schools and teachers, depending on where they're at, like to develop a resilience plan. And that's for the school. There's the teacher level, there's the admin level, there's the student level, there's the family level. But everybody has their resilience plans, and you'll see that and notice that, and they're embedded. And from there, that allows this natural way of advocating for well-being within and beyond the classroom. You'll find that families feel empowered, and they find their own unique way of engaging within the classroom and school. And now we have so many other ways and opportunities for all of our families, and for some of our families that we're still trying to find the way of connecting to their heart, we have an opportunity to continue to discover that. But when there's a heart-centered classroom, the families naturally find their way there with the support, but they feel a part and they belong. We move from learning, which again, like we learning is wonderful, but if we can move from learning into experiencing and embodying and really then being, like taking it and becoming it. That is in a heart-centered classroom. We invite challenges with an open heart and mind. And the classrooms that are heart-centered are emotionally regulated and have supports in place to embrace emotions. And we learn how to understand what those hidden messages are within our students and selves. And we take action with integrity. So thinking about even these elements within a heart-centered classroom, what you share, maybe what you reflected on. Are there pieces here that are in your journal right now? Maybe you even take a moment to pause and see. Maybe there's something here that inspires you, and that one thing, like even just taking one action step, like that's the biggest thing you can do, right? Just take a small action and then layer on as you're ready. But maybe something here becomes your goal for even this upcoming school year. So let's take a moment to picture what the heart-centered classroom is, and this is another invitation to practice. And if you feel comfortable doing so, and if not, that is okay as well. Maybe you continue to journal and reflect on what it is to you. And if you wish to join me, please do so. So again, wherever you are, choose how you wish to be and settle in. Whether you're sitting back, sitting tall, standing, maybe you're even walking as you're listening to this. Whatever makes sense to you in this moment. And then as you settle in, begin to check in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, just what's present. After all of that information about listening and being heart-centered, what has changed with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts? What's present? And then maybe you begin to picture in your mind and imagine you arriving at school, knowing that you have a heart-centered classroom. You open the door and you see all of your students just smiling. Or maybe it's even the beginning of the day, and as you open up that door, your students are walking in with you, and every single student you see and you greet with a smile. Every single student has felt seen by you, and they feel safe, and they feel the heart. And as they're in the classroom, maybe later on in the day, just the learning that's happening across all content, the risk that students are taking, and the celebration. Oh, there's a challenge. Wow. We use those strategies. We celebrate. And you notice just how all of your students are present and learning together, learning from each other. And it just feels like you are making a difference by being you in this classroom. And as the last student leaves for the day, you take a look back in your classroom, and now you smile as well as you begin to close for your day. And you close the door, and you walk. And as that happens, just allowing that picture to be on your heart or anything else that came up, knowing that it's possible and it matters and you matter. And taking 3 more breaths, maybe checking back in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, even after that small moment. If any changes are present, there's no right, there's no wrong, just there is, and letting it be. And after that 3rd breath, welcoming yourself back, And looking around or opening up your eyes. And there's no rush. Maybe even if anything came up for you, allowing yourself to journal on your reflective tool or in your own note-taking space, just anything that inspired you as you fully welcome yourself back. And also I felt inspired even like right now, looking at our students right here in this picture, and knowing that they're always watching, knowing that they are seeing and learning every moment. And here are the heart-centered practices so far again. So now we experience journaling, and I would even encourage you to think about, do you have a journaling routine that you share? Writing for many of our students can be really challenging because writing is very vulnerable. Once it's all on paper, it's there. Once it's typed, it's there. So how can we create a culture of writing through our content and through mindfulness-based SEL, how all of that intertwines together, right? And all of this is a part of mindfulness-based SEL, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And just sharing too, I was coaching with a teacher, and they ended up getting the little journals at the dollar store, or wherever you would like to find them, but at the dollar store for her students. And every transition, there was intention behind it, where students would have an opportunity, like let's say they were moving from reading into math, to have a moment to journal about their experience within learning, an aha or a question, or just how they are in that moment, what they're feeling. Like there's all kinds of different journaling prompts. And then having a specific time to close and then transition into something new. So if we can integrate that more, and then we know how writing also then increases and impacts our reading and everything around. So it's something to think about if it's something that interests you. Feel free to reach out if you want more information. We learned how to hold space and truly listen. And that's important because that's allowing us to create an equitable space for all voices to be heard. And all voices are welcomed. We've also then built connection through listening and holding space. We learned about honoring the pause and transitions, and how when our body and mind can work together and create that synergy, that opportunity is in the pause. And we can create every moment with intention, every moment we learn, even the transitions. And we see the possibilities. So we were able to picture in our mind what a heart-centered classroom is for us, but we can do that for anything. You can offer a moment to just imagine how our read aloud is going to be, or how in our PE class, how we can kind of see the outcome of our teamwork together as we're learning new skills, right? It doesn't matter. You can offer that for them, because when we see it, we can become it. And even if we don't become it that day, we're planting the seed for it to become later on. And I would offer, again, a moment here if you'd like to jot down any notes that you have, or questions, ideas, inspiration. So you can always pause the video at any time. And I'm going to take just a quick pause for me here. So I mentioned about mindfulness-based social and emotional learning, MBSEL. Now this is something that I would say Actually, I didn't introduce myself with that too. So I currently am the president of the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully, and COSM. And so within COSM, we are really advocating for a new way of approaching SEL in our schools. And we'll kind of break this down in a little bit. Instead of breakdown, I'm going to go with the word, we're going to explore it and see what kind of layers are there and create an understanding. We don't want to break anything. But mindfulness-based SEL. And if you're interested in learning more, I just did a podcast kind of exploring mindfulness-based SEL. And it's newer. The practices themselves are not new, but the concept of blending them and how we blend them is. And so it's being developed, and being able to articulate something that is really a heart-centered classroom is mindfulness-based SEL. They really are the same, and however you wish to kind of explore that, I'd encourage you to do so. So this quote I came across recently, and I wish I had even sooner, but everything is always in the right moment. And it's probably my favorite quote now. And it's from Aristotle. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Ooh, right? As we continue with our heart-centered classroom, think about the avenues that you have where you can really be educating the heart alongside the content that you're teaching and the specialty that you support or lead. Every moment is an opportunity to create a learning experience through the heart. How are you showing up in every moment for that? And there are the moments that we don't, and that's okay because we are human. But the power of that is recognizing when it's happening, when we're not educating the heart or being from our heart. And when we recognize it and admit that and share that, that is educating the heart. So you can't ever be wrong. I'm totally printing this out and putting this in my classroom this year. Feel free to do the same if it inspires you as well. So let's kind of peel back what MBSEL is. So mindfulness. Mindfulness means just being fully present. It's here and now with our body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, with a sense of curiosity and openness. And especially within education, when we are sharing mindfulness, or whatever word resonates with you, whether you use wellness, leaders, I like to use the word combination wellness facilitation strategies. That's a little bit more accessible for all staff, learning community members, as we continue to explore and share what truly mindfulness is and what mindfulness is in education. One of my colleagues, I'll give her a shout out here, Shelley Murphy, she had a really powerful quote that I'd like to share as well. And we're really moving, so we have education, mindfulness in education, but really moving into mindfulness as education. Meaning we are needing to be present all the time. And how can we increase that, increase the intention, increase of knowing what is my body telling me in this moment. And through that, we're able to share powerful learning experiences, and we're sharing that with our students so that they can be and truly be. I'm going to take a step back here for a moment. If you wish to stand with me, I will give you what I use with students, a student definition of this. If you'd like to join me, you could do it seated, but you've been probably sitting for a little while. But I'm going to take a step back here and show you the movement. I'll do it 3 times, and I'd encourage you to do this with your students too. Okay. So, how mindfulness for defining with students. I go, mindfulness means here and now with my body, and I tap just like my upper legs, because our body, breath, and then that's where I put my hands and tap my belly. Emotions, that's my heart, and thoughts, my mind, my brain. And so it goes like this. I'll do it once fast, and then we'll do it 3 times. Mindfulness means here and now with my body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. And so repeat after me so that you have this as well. So ready? Mindfulness means here and now with my body, breath, emotions, thoughts. Mindfulness means here and now with my body, breath, emotions, thoughts. Last time. Mindfulness means here and now with my body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. Now for our older students, I have a video of this. I haven't really shared too much yet with you, like my second book. So my second book, I have several videos with resources, and there is a video about defining mindfulness that's connected with my book. It's The Superpower of Your Heart. I'll share with that a little bit, but no, if you want to review this, you can check out that video there. It's on my website. You can access that there. But really, it's kind of the same thing about mindfulness means here and now with my body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, with a sense of curiosity and openness. So allowing our students, no matter the grade, movement allows our body and mind to understand and integrate concepts. Great teaching strategy, no matter what content, right? I also added here some of the research. I have a link there to a lot of different research. I believe that's a link on my website, and you can kind of explore where you want to learn a bit more. But just knowing there is a lot out there, a lot that's coming as well, because mindfulness in education and as education in the United States is still something that we are exploring, and the concept's not new, but for us having access to be able to share it in schools has been able to shift a little bit. And down at the bottom, that's the visual that I like to use in my classroom and classrooms that I coach. I offer this, and that's representative of the body. And then you have the moving shape is the breath, the heart is the emotions, and then you have the thoughts, and that's the brain. And also I want to just mention, in case you're interested, the breath, I have us tap our belly and not our lungs because of our diaphragm. Now, students don't necessarily need to know about the diaphragm, but for our older students, they love to learn about that. And really our healthy breathing comes from our diaphragm, or in sync with our diaphragm and into our bellies. That's why we have like those strategies called belly breath. And maybe even noticing for you right now, if you do put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and just kind of take a few breaths and just notice where your own breath is coming from. Is it down in your belly? Is it further up? Is it even stuck here, right? And just know where your breath is and how can you continue to create that healthy space here. And then social emotional learning. So we have mindfulness and the research that supports mindfulness. We have SEL, the research that supports SEL. And for SEL, what that is to define it as, for me, I like to define that as explicitly and intentionally taught life skills that are necessary for children and adults to experience the world around them. I included CASEL's definition. CASEL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, knowing that also Remember, it's not just collaborative for social and emotional learning. Academics are there because they go together. They need to have each other. We can't have schools without academics. We can't have academics without SEL or schools. I mean, we have, but notice what's happening. Like, our world needs us to make a different choice here. We need to be thinking about how we truly are creating the learning experiences for our students. That could be a whole other session. We're going to continue here. But again, if you are, I hope that you are aware of CASTLE, but if not, you can click the image up there. It'll take you to CASTLE's framework, and you can explore SEL even deeper there, but knowing that they have to go together. So then when we have MBSEL, Mindfulness-Based SEL, you have mindfulness that is working from the inside out, right? And then you have social and emotional learning that's working from the outside in. And these are happening simultaneously when we're teaching through this way of being and through this way of embodying the practices and sharing with our students. And when we connect the two practices together, that's how the heart-centered and sustainable approach to learning happens. It's sustainable because once you become it as a teacher, like nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take that away from how you are sharing, and naturally you're connecting to the hearts of your students. So it's a refined and powerful way of teaching with and from the heart to create, again, resilient communities of learning. We have had a lot happening within our world, and by us moving into this space of both inside out work as we're teaching and actually being, not just modeling, like we can make a big shift here. I want to highlight some of the resources. I've been mentioning a couple times here, but the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully, I put a link there in case you are interested in exploring that more. There are a ton of resources with COSM, both free. There are local chapters in your area, most areas, and if not, you can always connect with other ones that do have local chapters. And there's a book that is also now being considered almost like it's basically being considered a field guide for sharing mindfulness in schools. So it's Educating Mindfully, Stories of School Transformation Through Mindfulness. I am chapter 34 in here in case you wanted to kind of see a structure for especially leaders here on how you can integrate mindfulness into your school and even classroom, but it's more from the macro level and into the micro, like all of that together, and how it's really organic. And we have a micro credential in mindfulness-based SEL, so if that's something you feel called to do and to share, you can explore that. I put a link there. And then also my new children's book, The Superpower of Your Heart, that is available and out now since May. And I do want to give a shout out to the teacher's guide that's available on my website. It's a download. It's 115 pages of amazing resources for you to help students make amazing choices that are based upon their heart. I will share something with you in a little bit, but I'll keep it a surprise. I want you to take a moment here, and the image of the reflection tool is here. So we've now learned quite a bit together. And so take a moment to really reflect on the next few questions, and if there's anything on there that you wish to kind of like add, please take a moment. So if you want to pause this video, please do so. And just take a moment to reflect where you're at. Okay, if you pause the video, welcome back. Again here for live, We will be connecting together and sharing about our question here on how is a heart-centered or mindfulness-based SEL classroom approach different, and why is it essential in our world today? So that was our next question for reflecting. For the recording, again, I would encourage you to maybe take a courageous action and post on social media, and you can definitely tag me in it, and I'd love to see what your thoughts are of this, and inviting others who are within your own community to start rethinking their own classroom too. For me, here's the why that comes to mind for me. So when the pandemic really first started, this is kind of an insight that came to me, and it still is holding true, so I want to share it with you again to continue our why. So we are all experiencing our world's story differently, yet collectively, right? And so we are having a collective global experience. And I don't necessarily want to call that, like some people are saying, we're having collective trauma. I don't necessarily want to say it in that frame, because it's really an experience, and we experience things differently. However, I still would kind of put it out there that the world itself is having its own challenges, its own experience, but through that, if we keep the lens of the butterfly, we know what's happening next, and that there's that possibility. Anyway, I'm going to come back to my quote here. So we are each experiencing our world's story differently, yet collectively. We store it within our body, brain, and heart. This shows up as visible reactions or behaviors, whether in ourselves, our students, and our staff, or families, world. Whether we know it or not, sometimes we create a block so powerful from experiences that when increased adversities happen, we are either heightened in our reactions or numbed. And I wanted to share this because there have been quite a lot of things happening in our world. And on my next slide, I do want to acknowledge that. And so just having an open heart for this moment and honoring these things that are happening in our world, and thinking about how your students, how families, how people around you are experiencing the collective global experience, and having compassion with that, and knowing that we are having reactions that are either heightened or numbed, and they're happening simultaneously, which can make it very interesting in our world. So I have all of them linked, so I'm going to come back here. I clicked on it. All right, so we have Ukraine and Russia and the war and the unrest. We have in Buffalo people who have lost their lives due to racial motives. Uvalde in schools. That is probably really hitting home for many of us as educators and changing a lot of things that are coming up for us. If you are watching, we are here within Illinois. And in our own town, it's close to where I live, that we lost people in Highland Park. We have social emotional learning, that there's a divide even with that. We have suicide rates that were on the decrease that are now increasing. ACEs. And I would really be curious to know what the new numbers would be since the pandemic and since these events, plus others, right? These are just some events. Events are happening all the time, but these are ones that have been speaking to me. And I just want to acknowledge that there's a lot more to this. And I also am acknowledging, I want this to be something that's just giving us a moment here to call to surface why we need to truly be making a change and adjustment. Teacher burnout. There's the studies that are there. The NEA is sharing about how potentially a large number of educators might be leaving the field, and so much more. So much more. But these are ones that are really, like, for me, have driven why I see the need to change. And you are going to have other ones, or maybe some of these speak to you. And I want to mention just a couple things here from that. So still keeping that in your heart for a moment. This is a page from my other children's book, Big Change, Better You, Beautiful World. And we're almost in this space of, well, we are in the space of transformation. And if you think about the butterfly, this is why I find the butterfly so empowering and inspiring, and allows us to know what's possible. So with the butterfly, you have the egg. Okay, that's like, we're learning and growing, continuing with the caterpillar and growing. But then eventually we do get to the chrysalis, and we have chrysalis moments, right? And our world is in a chrysalis moment. We've been for a while. We don't know how long that happens, but seeing that the transformation can happen. And also realizing that we are moving into a space where we can change that and to move into that power of love instead of the love of power, as one of my mentors reminds even me to stay focused on, right, and shifting there. And so this here in my book, it says, I like to think of change as more of a transformation. When we transform, we become something even greater. Our hearts can grow bigger, our impact can be better, and we can create a more beautiful world. However, transformation is not easy. It can be challenging. And that's what we're feeling. And as I mentioned, we have the different stages and what happens, but knowing that there is good in what we're doing, and we are making a difference, and we make a difference every day in our classrooms, and that every single one of our students, staff, families, everybody is a butterfly themselves, and we're supporting them on their growth, no matter what stage they're on at too, including ourselves. Oh, I have this linked. All right. So that was, again, a lot. So take a moment, perhaps even more than two. And if you need to step away and get something, to drink or whatnot for the last part of our time together, we have just a little bit more. But take a moment here before you do. And just think about if any insights have come up for you. There's not a specific question on the reflection tool, but maybe, again, that's where you want to put everything that you are thinking about. Maybe you've had a mindset or a heart set shift. And just think about if there's anything that's on your mind from there. And after we come back, I would like to offer a moment as well for a transition to be able to share with you and honestly our world as well. So take about 2 minutes here. I'm not going to click the button here per the recording, but maybe take 2 minutes, press pause, reflect, grab what you need. Just take a moment for you, especially after all of that part of our learning together. So welcome back. As I mentioned, I wanted to offer a moment here to really send our love to the world, because sometimes that is an action that we can take. And even in our classrooms, when things happen, we have a moment that we can really pause and take and show that whatever is happening in their life or in our world or wherever we're at, like, by even taking a moment intentionally to just share well wishes with others or the world, that can really be meaningful, and as I mentioned, an action step to take. So again, I would invite you, if you would like, And settling into the space and checking in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, just what's present. And letting it be whatever is there. And then perhaps even placing your hands on your heart, connecting to your heart. And just seeing and thinking about whomever is coming to mind right now, whether it's students, whether it's family, whether it's a colleague, the world, anybody, whoever needs the most right now for you to have an intention of sending love and sending the wish to them. I invite you to do so. And then perhaps you send them the wish of, may you be safe, may you be filled with love, and may you have the courage to have and be and take action in this moment of transformation. And anything else that comes up for you, allowing them to be well, and taking 3 breaths, and with a smile, coming back into our space after your 3rd breath. And welcome back. Something that I like to do for our younger learners, and especially like if somebody may not be in class, I always like to have them send well wishes, and I have them just kind of create heat in their hands. And then on the count of 3, we're gonna say, we wish you well, and then we kind of go like, we wish you well, just like to them. So if you wish to do that too, you can imagine, again, the world on the screen. So if we were in like early learning, kinder, 1st grade, on the count of 3, and really any grade level, but especially for the youngers to be able to still send a well wish. Ready? On the count of 3, we'll say, we wish you well. 1, 2, 3. We wish you well. And just sometimes that's just what we need to do. Sometimes that's all we have the ability to control to do when there's unrest or challenges. So heart-centered classrooms start with us and our commitment to well-being and leaving heart prints on the hearts of our learning communities. So I'm sure you've kind of gathered, and I've mentioned throughout our journey, the importance that you bring into your class. And knowing that you have the ability to leave that heart print on the lives and hearts of your students and anybody and everybody. And one strategy for us is to really know your values. And some of you have perhaps done different value exercises. This is one that I've created, and it's a little bit different. It's a little bit even deeper within, so that you can truly find and discover what is resonating with you and your values. This is a part of the resilience plan as well. So you have access to this, and I would encourage you, as with all the other strategies, but I would encourage you to take some time and explore this. This might even be something that you share with your students, or if you were a leader, maybe this is something you do with your staff members. And especially our older students, like to be able to give them the opportunity to know who they are and what they value, because that also helps us when things are not quite connecting together, there's more conflict. Often that's because our values are not matching at that time, and that's okay, right? Like we all have different values, but it's understanding how we can value our values and the values of others, and then being able to recognize what are the strategies I can do to hold that space for any and all values, and then to grow together. So know who you are, what drives your actions within and beyond the classroom, know and value your values. And then just think about, like, what if you knew your students' values? How would that change how things have been in your classroom or school? So this in itself is also an MB-SEL strategy. And really, your presence is the best present that you can give. Many teachers have mentioned that in the past, and just knowing and really cherishing, like, by you being you, right? Your presence is what can make the difference in your students' lives and your staff's, your teachers' lives. So then the question is, right now, how often are you present throughout the day? Are you even present right now in this moment? How do you know? So, for example, running. Some of you may be runners. I am not a runner at this moment. I can run, but some of you may, like, that is what you enjoy doing. But there's a difference between running to go for a run and exercise versus mindfully running, where you are very aware about where you are at in or outside, where and how, when you're running, what sensations are there? Like, are you feeling the bottoms of your feet as you run? Are you understanding and feeling and experiencing the sounds that are around you, and being really present with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts in that moment? It's very different. When you're teaching, actually, this is for right now even, when you're learning and you're taking notes, there's a difference between, I'm just going to write notes and I'm going to write these words down because I have to get it done, versus let me have the intention and mindfully write. Be very present with the words that I'm choosing to write, and to know that the messages on my paper or computer, what that means. Same thing with our students. Can we teach them the importance of actually mindfully writing, mindfully anything, when we're being present in what we're doing, right? We write so many notes, but if we don't actually have an intention behind them, they're just words on a paper that will never be looked at again. And then teaching. If we are able to mindfully teach, being present with our students in the classroom with our hearts, versus I'm coming to share content. Very different intentions. Just think about it for you. So to share again the heart-centered practices that have been embedded or mentioned, or we will be sharing in a moment together. I've mentioned the resilience plan, and again, if that's something that you are interested in, please feel free to reach out for coaching together, or developing your own version, whatever makes sense for you. And then the heart-centered practice for truly being present, right? So if that's the biggest gift that we can give, like, we need to have some strategies to make us fully present in the moment right now, quickly. So I'm going to give you 2 options here. We're going to practice together. You can do it seated or you can do it standing, but you would use this when you feel yourself getting distracted, or when you're only focused on what you want to say instead of what the other person wants to say or is sharing with you. So the first one is called abdomen awareness. And really you can choose between both right now, but it just is a small difference between the two. And the second one is called feet, abdomen, heart. So if you'd like, you can stand. You can also do this seated. But just for a moment, I invite you to focus on the bottoms of your feet. And then place either both of your hands on your abdomen, just like the picture, or however is comfortable for you, or one hand on your abdomen and then one hand on your heart. And then you'll bring your attention to the present through the rhythm, whether it's the rhythm of your breathing, maybe it's the rhythm of your heart, maybe it's just the rhythm of just being. And as someone is speaking, when you're with them, you can even just do this, right? Like you can have one hand or even both. If you find yourself getting distracted, and by just doing this, you are already allowing yourself the opportunity to become present. And you become aware of the words that they are saying. And the tip here for the eye gaze focus or refocus is, if you are so focused on what you want to say or do or share, maybe you look down somewhere for a moment and only listen to the words that they are saying versus watching what and how they're saying something. So you can truly kind of tune into those words for them. And it really allows you to be fully present. So again, you can choose when to do that. And often I will find myself like in meetings, like I'll just have my hands on my abdomen, and just connecting to that rhythm so I know that I'm fully present. Just try it sometime, even today, maybe along with your other challenge, and just see how it goes. So I'm going to show some lines coming up here in a moment, and just see what happens for you. All right, so you're going to read these. There we go. So go ahead and read this silently to yourself. I'll pop up other ones as we come along. So just letting that again resonate for a moment. And I will read it out loud. Even only if you have your own mindfulness practice, children reflect the nervous systems of the adults around them. You can create a heart-centered classroom by just being you. The opposite is true as well. This is why your well-being is essential and simultaneous. It's not just students at the core, it's all of us. So then the question down at the bottom, just to think through, right, is, are you being heart-centered? Or maybe the heartbreaker? And that's kind of hard to say and to think about, and we've all been both. We've been both. But we have a choice, and through their choice and intention, even those moments where we might accidentally be a heartbreaker, we know the intention is there to continue on the path of being heart-centered. Even when it's hard. I know I've mentioned that, I'm going to mention it again. And the quote there from Mindful Schools is my favorite quote, and it's one of those things like, that's your why. Why do we do it? Why do we need to be it? MBSEL, the B is also B, being. The children reflect the nervous systems of the adults around them. That's the same for adults. The teachers reflect our leaders and each other around them. So if we all are approaching this as heart-centered and we all are being and we're present, it can really shift where we don't have to have the heartbreaks anymore into our spaces. And when that does happen, we know that we've not done so with that intention. We've done so because we are heart-centered and we can move forward. So, and how do we do it? We teach from our heart. And so I want to share with you, again, I was mentioning about my book, I'm going to share a little bit more. HEART is an acronym, and it's a routine. It's a routine for every part of your day. And it's great for in the classroom, outside of the classroom, all grade levels, really. It's an MB-SEL strategy. And the cue there is check in with your heart. You can even add that onto your agenda as well throughout your day, where you say, check in with your heart as a transition. You can say that when somebody is escalated and then they have a routine of knowing, how can I make the best decision right now? How can I make the superhero decisions that I know I am and the world needs us to be the superheroes? So I'm going to be sharing a bit more about my book, but again, you don't necessarily need my book for the acronym. I'm sharing it with you because I believe in it. It has been something personally I realized was a routine I was doing, and it just so happened to become an acronym with it. So I would find myself when I needed to be making a decision that I would be checking in with my body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. I would be moving into the next phases of the HEART acronym, which we are going to learn together now. Actually, we'll experience together now. All right, so this is a picture actually from within my book, and I want to share with you that they're the guiding questions. And even something like this, right? Like being able to share it with students and them to have it as a visual representation that they have, and what HEART stands for. Now for this slide, I brought something here for us. I brought my drum with us because not everybody uses these words all the time, especially our students. Like, they don't go around saying, oh, let me check my environment, or let me make sure my affirmation's okay, let me transform today. They don't. But what if they did? And we can. But to learn the words, especially in the order, I wanted us to find a way of making it accessible. And so when we connect music and rhythm to anything, just like our movement, it helps us to learn. So I'm going to play my drum for you today. And it's a very simple rhythm, so that you can also share it with your students. And as I mentioned, there's a video of me doing this, part of the superhero training that I have for my book and in the teacher's guide. So you can get that on my website if you would like to review as well. All right, so I will do an example, and then feel free to join me when I do it again, just so that you have it. And last thing, when we do it, you would be using your hand. All right, so it's health, environment, affirmation, response, transform. That's how it's going to go. So I'm going to play my drum for a moment. Health, environment, affirmation, response, transform. That's the rhythm. That's it. So even if you have your own, you can clap it out, you can do anything, get a fun instrument, you can help students just to know what they are. But let's do it again, you can join me. There's 2 beats before we start. Health, environment, affirmation, response, transform. Health, environment, affirmation, response, transform. And just kind of letting that sink in for a little bit. We're going to do it one more time so you have it as well, but with your hand. So if you didn't use your hand the last time, make sure you do now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Health, environment, affirmation, response, transform. Okay? So kind of keeping that in mind. Well, how do we use this, and what does this look like? Well, in the moment, you need to make a choice. We make choices every moment by moment, we're making a choice. I have a choice right now to show you the next slide, right? I have the choice right now of knowing where our timing is at and where we need to go and where we are going, okay? So just thinking about the choices that you make. So the first one is health. And guess what? That image comes back with the body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. All right, so when we're looking here, I will show you the movement in just a moment, but let me share this first. So contextually within my book, the words I use is it's how you feel, meaning inside, meaning body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. And where are they at in this moment? That's your guiding question. And we need to know this because we have to know what our inner messages are telling us so that we know, do we keep going with a choice or do we need to make a change? And is this helping me go towards that choice and the goal that I need in this moment of what I need to do? Or is it not? Right? So we have to know, how are we feeling on the inside about this? Especially if we do have an escalation possibly happening, we can go check in with your heart. First step, what's your body telling you? What's your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts? What are they doing in this moment? And so the movement, this is another, you'll see this throughout for each one, but the first one on this first part, it says health is how you feel, and you see the character going like this. So that is our movement. So health is how you feel. So you would invite students to repeat after you. Because he feels great. He's climbed that mountain inside and that internal feeling of that. Another strategy that I've indirectly shared with you today when we've done our invitation to practice is called the 5-step moment. And if you've led mindfulness experiences before or not, this is a tool that can help anybody. So you'll notice that it's also a hand. This one is your left hand. Now for me, I don't know if it's mirrored to you, but this to me is my left hand and this is my right hand. Heart is the right hand and 5-step is the left hand, okay? And it's also aqua, and then the other heart is more of a blue, aqua, blue. So aqua comes before blue. So you can lead a mindful moment through this where you settle in. How would you like to be in this moment? Are you sitting? Are you standing? Are you walking? Would you like your eyes open or closed? How are you wanting to experience this moment and settling in? And you check in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. That's always going to come back around. Body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, right? Moment, that can be anything. Our moment today, we pictured our classroom. A moment today was taking the 3 breaths. Our moment today, we set an intention. Our moment can be anything that's just bringing us present here and now to experience. Then we check out with our body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. If there have been any changes, even from this small experience here, we close out by coming back, opening up our eyes, refocusing back. And that's a 5-step moment. So what you might even do when you're leading it, what I like to do is even sometimes I'll place my hand, I'll kind of tap the different fingers as well. Same thing with heart, just so that you know where you're at in the strategy to help you lead. So now we have environment. So we have health, environment, okay? So environment, our SEL CASEL competencies are for social awareness and relationship skills, because our environment, we're looking for anything, and you can see on the side there, that pops. Pops meaning people, objects, places, or yourself. So when we're thinking about environment, it's what's around us, also what's in, but we did in from health, but it's just another layer of a reminder that self, if I can't change my external environment of what's happening, I can choose to do something inside to help me move through this process of making the best decision I can. And so the guiding question is, do I need to make a change in my environment? With the people, Sometimes we have students who may be in another group of learners that may or may not be helping them make the best choices. Can we change that environment? Are there objects that we can either add or remove or whatnot that they can do, not we, but they can do to help them make a great choice towards the direction that they need to go? Are they in the right location, or can they change the place where they're at? Or themselves. Maybe they take the breath before something, or if they have other tools that they're learning to help them to stay present that they can do. And we have to do that because it impacts the action towards the goal and knowing, do I keep going or need to make a change? And for environment, that's this little girl in the tree there. And so you would be looking and then go environment. Again, all of the movement is also in the video on my website, the www.thebutterflywithin.me/superpower. So you would go environment. Environment is what's around you. Next, so we have health, environment, affirmation. So affirmation is self-management. And it's the movement goes like this as well. It's our definition. But affirmation is a mindset, I am statement. We've talked quite a bit about affirmations as well with intention. So I won't kind of go too deep into that. But the biggest thing is, what affirmation can I say to support me like right now? It has to match what you need. You might have an affirmation, so like if I have an affirmation I'm presenting right now, my affirmation might be, I am sharing powerful learning, or I am courageously sharing heart. I am connected to myself and sharing. I probably might not say like I am happy, although I am, but that's not giving me the motivation and focus that I need to be able to share the learning with you. So it has to match. And as I mentioned, so affirmation is a mindset, I am statement. And even here, if you notice in the book, she was smaller and then she grew into the affirmation. So we want to remind our students that sometimes we may not be feeling like we're that yet, but the more that we can say it and believe it, we become it. Here are some examples. Again, we shared some earlier today, but maybe you have something like this printed out and you can share with your students. Also know in the teacher's guide, there's a few pages that I have of little cards that are there that you can also use for a particular lesson and beyond in there as well. Health, environment, affirmation, response. That's a really important one here, because if we don't do these and we don't take action, nothing's going to happen. And we're not being the superhero that we can be. All right? So with response, we have self-management and responsible decision-making. Ultimately, this is meant for responsible decision-making. So the definition is taking action. And the guiding question is, how do I choose, keyword choose, to respond in this moment? Why? So that we can decide, do we take action? Are we making the responsible decision? Are we making a superhero choice in this moment? Do you keep going or do you make a change, right? So there's these micro moments of like, okay, when I check in with my heart, what's my body saying? Okay. So it seems to be okay. Environment, do I need to make a change here to help me? What's my inner language telling me? Okay, now I got to do it. Then you do it. And our movement here is this character. And they're running so fast, right? That's their superpower there. And so response is taking action. So you're running super fast. So you can share that with your students. And then finally, so after you respond, which might take some time, transformed isn't like right away after, but it reminds us we have to come back. We have to reflect. Also in the guide, there's like a reflection tool there. And so like when you do this, then you are coming back and helping them to process through mindfulness-based SEL. We're learning the skills, we're being present, we have it. So now what's going to happen next? Okay, so transform. It's now self-awareness and relationship skills to myself, to others, and even to the environment. How did this go? How did my choice impact me? So a definition for our book is how you changed or transformed, right? How did I or my experience transform based off of my heart? Because sometimes I may not feel like I changed, but the experience did, the outcome did. So that gives you a lens there of supporting the learning. And it allows us to reflect. And so the movement for there is this character. These are purple, are almost like a Hulk combination, right? You can kind of see the little layers in there for some superheroes. But it goes like a butterfly. One of the students I was with, they came up with this and I loved it and I kept it ever since. And they say transform. So you have the butterfly wings with strength. Transform is how you changed. So we are not going to do this together, but after the video, I would encourage you to try it. So I gave like an anchor chart of how that looks like and is. That's also a video that you can refer to. And I gave you what would you do scenarios that span across different environments, both in and out of the classroom, teams, teaching, at home. So when you have a moment, I would encourage you to take a look at it and see how would you use heart in that scenario and how did it go? How would it go? And then actually apply heart sometime today and forever, I would say. But just notice how it can change everything. So this was my my little surprise. Now, I don't know when you're watching this recording, but if you are inspired and you let me know, send me an email, and you just say like DuPage, ROE, creating heart-centered classrooms. I'd love to have access to the guide. I will give you a code and you can download it for free because I really want this practice to be in your classroom, and it's a way of embedding all of these things that we've been learning today in real time in your classroom. So it's my gift to you if you wish. So we are starting to close. We are coming here to our time. And here are some other resources. Again, I shared about COSM. I've been a part of this organization. This, I believe, is my 3rd year. And I just really appreciate the community. And when we are exploring this work together and advocating for wellness and education, we need to have a support community and learn together. So here's some information you can explore. And if you are interested in sharing feedback, there's a feedback form that's linked. I always enjoy growing and hearing from you what you enjoyed, what you'd want more of. So when I do continue sharing my professional learning, I can make things really impactful for you. So please feel free to share. And if you're interested in coaching together, there's a link there. All of the social media and how you can contact me is all here for you as well. I love to connect. And also, if anybody wants me to share anything with you or your school, please let me know. And so I'd invite you to pause the video or at the end, if not right now, it's okay. But really take 2 minutes and journal on your reflection tool, what's your commitment? Right? How will you commit to creating a heart-centered classroom from your way of being, from the strategies that we've learned, even heart? And what's one action step? There's a lot. We just need to even start with one thing. And that's how we create change, right? So that might take you some time to really think through and reflect. So either you can pause the video or after the video as you prepare the reflection tool, and that's how you'll be able to share with the Regional Office of Education. And also I want to say before we close with our last practice here, just again, thank you to the DuPage Regional Office and SEL Hub 1. And it's really amazing that we are able to have grants that are funding social and emotional learning. We have a lot of work to do, and it's incredible. And for you, thank you for being here, for showing up here and learning together and committing to your students, committing to your teachers, and committing truly to transforming education in what we do. So with that, I would invite us to engage in just a closing invitation here. Again, maybe you sit back, sit tall, or stand. Also notice that as trauma-informed layers, I approach these the same way each time, right? So if you're interested in that, please let me know for more, but coming back. So choosing how you wish to settle in right now. Perhaps you even allow your eyes to close if that is safe and comfortable for you. Maybe you even look at the screen and just notice something on there that creates this moment of closure. And check in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, just what's present now. And knowing that there's no right, there's no wrong, there just is. And then just taking this moment to pause and just think of all the learning that has just taken place in connection with the heart, and how you will be bringing your heart into all that you do, and the impact in the lives this year and beyond. And just pausing and letting any of this information just integrate to the heart. And then checking back with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts. Is anything that's changed, even with letting that learning be present, letting that experience be powerful and inspiring and transformative. And then as you're ready, taking 3 more breaths as we close together, letting that intention and the next steps on your teaching and leading and supporting journey come straight into your heart with every breath as we close out our time. And welcome back. I just want to say thank you all so much for your presence and learning together today, and know that you make a big difference in every class and every moment of the lives of your students. And thank you for your commitment to creating a heart-centered classroom. So with that, thank you for being you and all that you do. And the butterfly within me sees, honors, and values the butterfly within you. Take care for now and enjoy.